Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And our topic today did not come from a question, but rather from a discussion I saw online. And this is the second vlog to come out of that discussion. The first one dealt with the legitimacy of magical automata. And today I wanted to discuss the legitimacy of automated divination, computer divination. And you've probably seen this sort of thing where you press the little button and you get a spread of tarot cards and their meanings. And the question is, firstly, is this legitimate? And my answer to that is, what do you mean legitimate? It's not like there's a board somewhere that says, yes, this is an acceptable divination form, and no, that is not. The real question is whether it is accurate or potentially accurate. And my answer to that is that with all forms of divination, to a large extent, it's a matter of garbage in and garbage out. If you don't put in the work to get the right answer, you don't get it. If you treat it like a game, sometimes your spirit guide, sometimes your connection to the universe will still make it work, but often you'll just get garbage. You have to take it seriously and do your part. And my belief is that if you do that, then anything can be an accurate form of divination. Divination in the end is an organized system of omens, and omens are basically random things that you see that have meaning. For example, a certain bird coming from a certain direction at a certain time of day can be an omen. I used to have a form of divination I commonly used back in the days when I rode on public transportation in Chicago, where I would ask a question of the universe with the answer to be given by the color of the hat of the next person I saw wearing a hat. And this actually worked for me quite well, even though it seems rather silly, but it could be very accurate. And that's how omens are, and that's how divination is. If you're looking at it to make a non-mystical type of logical sense, divination really doesn't. You have to approach it from the point of view that spirit can use what are essentially random elements to communicate with you, or in fact any elements to communicate with you. And you must understand it in that way for it to make any kind of sense. So one of the comments I saw about automated divination was that it's just a bunch of random cards that comes up. But what do you think a tarot reading is? When you draw cards out of a deck, you're drawing them at random on the premise that spirit will control what you actually get and give the message to you. And I don't see why automating it makes it any different. However, as with a real-world tarot reading, you have to put your own energy into it. You don't just press the little button, although I think in some cases that can work, but many it will not. You need to focus on what it is you want to know. Whether it's a question or just a general reading, you need to take a few moments to focus your energy into that computer before you press the button if you want to get a good result. And if you don't do that part, well, then yes, it may not be very good for you. But if you do, I don't see how it works any differently than any other form of divination. I used to sometimes read by dice, where you just roll the dice and you read by the numbers that come up. What could be more random? And how is that any different from pressing a button to get computer-generated tarot cards? Either spirit can speak to us through randomness, or it cannot. But if it can, then all these different forms of randomness can be used. Now, some will be better for one person than another. Some people can accept certain messages from certain systems better than another. And those things certainly are true, but that doesn't mean those systems don't work. It means that they're not necessarily a good fit for that person. I've used computer-generated tarot readings for myself and found them to work very well. I think it's a matter of whether you put your energy into it and whether you're willing to accept it. And I think that's true for every form of divination. So my answer to the question of whether automated divination is legitimate, again, is that legitimacy is not a question here. But accuracy is, and yes, it can be accurate like any other divination form. And like any other divination form, it also cannot be accurate, depending on how you are interacting with it. One of the things I encountered during The many years that I was doing regular professional tarot readings was that some people were just not willing to accept any answer, and therefore they didn't necessarily get any. Now, sometimes Spirit would break through this anyway, but sometimes the person just had a wall up and they couldn't get anything, or they would get exactly what they needed to hear, but not be able to hear it. So you have to be willing to make the connection, in my opinion. You have to be willing to accept the answer. And if you are, not only automated divination, but literally anything can be used for divination. So those would be my thoughts on the matter. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Please join me for our Correllian Peace Prayer. I pray for peace. I pray for love. I pray for stability. I pray for the nation where I live. I pray for the world.